Hello everyone, welcome back to Behind the Canvas. This is episode 3, and in this episode I am painting a Neo, I think it's called. It's a sort of a guardian in Japanese temples, but if I'm wrong, please correct me. And I'm just focusing on the face. It's again another portrait. It's a little bit different from the one I did at the beginning in episode 1. I'm just focusing on the face this time, and I am keeping it simple. I am not really investing a lot of detail into it. And this is a smaller canvas. Usually I work on bigger canvases, 60 times 80 centimeters, and this one is 30 times 24, if I'm not mistaken. And I chose this subject, again, because I like characters that have emotion and show emotion on the face. And this, just like the Neptune that I painted in episode 1, does that and does it very well. The original picture also includes the body of the statue, but I decided just to focus on the face this time. Now this time I went for a very limited palette of colors. I kept it on the red side quite a bit because the character originally is red. It has a very red color. All of the body is red, the face is red, and the context is also red. The building in which the character is, or the statue is placed, is painted red. It has some columns in red, and the background, some of the walls are, I think, a little bit white, but in combination it's all very red. And I really like that, honestly. Red is a color that transmits a lot of intensity. And this character, its expression is already very intense. But if you add red to it, it's, I think, double the amount of intensity that you get out of it. And I really like that it's also it doesn't matter that it's a very small format for the canvas. You're also getting, or you're still getting, a ton of emotion from such a small format. And so what I did, like at the beginning, just like the times before, is the underlining of the character. This time, since it's a portrait, I didn't care again too much about the background, because there isn't that much space to put a background with the portrait, taking into account that it's 24 times 30 centimeters. You can't really do much with it, or I wouldn't do much with it, because then you need to, I would say that then you would need to reduce the size of the portrait and make it less prominent, and then we're not really talking about a portrait anymore, I think. So yeah, I again kept it very simple, very minimalistic, if you want to call it like that. I don't know to what extent this is a little boring, not adding a background, but to me, it doesn't need a background because the character already tells you quite a bit, or is telling you quite a bit of a story in itself. Yeah. Now, something really interesting was that even though this character doesn't really have a realistic face, and by that I mean, unlike if we take the example of the Neptune that I painted in episode 1, which was probably modeled using a human, this one is more artistic in a way, in the sense that it doesn't exist. No one looks like this, and somehow this made it even like slightly more difficult for me to actually keep it true to the original source, which is a photograph in this case. I don't know, I just felt like, well, first of all, I felt like I could take a little bit more of a artistic freedom, and by that you could interpret it as making more mistakes and not really caring too much about it, because as it is, the original source is not a real person. But at the same time, I don't know, I found it a little hard to understand some of the parts of the face, like what what were those representing? Like some of them look like muscles that don't exist, or yeah, I don't know. It was given this creative freedom that the sculpture has. It made it a little bit more difficult for me to keep it, yeah, as true to the source as possible. But anyway, this was still very interesting because it has so many curves and so many volumes that it just, I don't know, it makes it really nice to paint. It's a really interesting subject to paint. Yeah, and as you can see here, I already painted the background red. I went and painted it again with a little bit more color at the end. Actually, the color that I had left over from the face, I used it for the background as well. But then I went back into the face and started focusing on the slight not details, but like started to build the shape of the face. You saw me use a little bit of a bluish color for the shadows at the beginning, but that was just to put them in place. And now I'm really going for a mix of Prussian blue and the red that I was using, but in a very undiluted way, because the shadows were just that extreme. And I think, I mean, not only because the subject is so dramatic, but also the light. There was a lamp in front of it, obviously, that was illuminating it, and it was already nighttime. So it was casting these really black shadows, really dark red shadows, and I really like that. I feel like it looks really cool. Yeah, and here you can really see how deep this upper shadow is. Like that's very, very good. And I feel like it adds a ton of contrast to the painting. And then we have these three elements joining in together to really create a lot of drama, which is first of all the character itself and the expression that it has, then the color, because the character is red, and then the lighting. It would be a little bit more friendly, a little bit friendlier if it would have been a photograph taken during the day, at, I don't know, noon or something, with different shades. I'm sorry, different light directions and different shadows. But this really works perfectly to, I guess, transmit a little bit of the fantasy behind the character, no? Like a bit like the character really is in hell, or I don't know if it's in hell or somewhere else, about to protect the temple from evil spirits or whatever. But it really, really works really well. Now the neck of the painting, of the character, sorry, that I took a little bit of creative freedom again, because there was a necklace originally in the lower part, a golden necklace, which I thought was a little bit too distracting, and there is a shadow, yes, underneath the face, but like I said, with the combination of the necklace, it would have been a little bit too much for the canvas and for the subject. So I left it out, and I just left that extreme shadow that frames again this face really, really nicely. And there's another thing that I kind of took out of the picture, or out of the painting, and that's the hand that is more or less on the left side of the painting. It was more or less covering, yeah, the area where the brush is right now. It's an open open hand with a specific posture, I think, or a specific pose. I'm not entirely sure what it means, but I'm sure it has a meaning. A lot of these things aren't random. They all have like a meaning and significance. But yeah, I don't know what it means. And I took it out because a hand, in my opinion, also takes a lot of attention, or grabs a lot of the attention that the face, in this case, would need. And hands, whenever you draw them or you paint them, they immediately act like focal points. And if you have a hand and a face in such a small format, then it becomes a little bit too crowded for my taste. So yeah, I decided to take it out of the painting. Had I been working with a bigger format, let's say 1 meter by 80 centimeters, then I would have added it, of course. Obviously, I would have added then the rest of the body. But yeah, I think that's something really nice to remember, that whenever you see something and you want to represent it, you have to think about the canvas and the space that you have, and all of the elements that are going to be represented in the canvas. So you have the liberty to decide what you're going to show. And that's really nice, actually. That's a really nice, how can I say it, like a thinking process, because it's not just copying. You will not be copying something one to one. You will actually be processing that information and thinking, okay, so if I add the hand, in this case, to the painting, will it be hindering the story that I'm telling? Will it be a help to the face or the character? Will it be too much? All of these questions that come only when you start contemplating what you're painting, and give you that skill of deciding what's good enough and what's enough and what isn't and should go. It's again like something super simple, but it does take a little bit of practice, I believe. Like if you start doing it like on your first tries, maybe you won't really manage to do something like that, be that selective with the things that you're painting. But if you give it a little more time, and then you start really thinking, okay, what do I want to represent? What do I want to paint? What works and what doesn't? Then you'll start developing this skill, and it's super, super nice. And it goes for everything, basically. If you're also doing a landscape, I have done landscapes based on photographs, actually. One of the landscapes I did of Mount Fuji, which is honestly one of my favorite paintings, the original photograph has a ton of electricity cables, or electrical cables or something, street cables, in the foreground, and it just looks horrible. Even if Mount Fuji itself is a very powerful subject and captivating and whatever, I didn't want to represent that, like the electrical cables in front of it. It's just ugly, and it doesn't add anything to my to my composition and to my painting and to the story. So I mean, that's a really simple example, no? And probably really easy as well to say, okay, those cables go out. But I don't know. I think it's interesting to remember it, that one can do that and it still remains to a certain extent true to to what you want to represent, unless what you want to represent is that 100% the reality of what you're looking at, in which case then yes, I guess you have to think about whether you leave all of the elements or not. But in that example, I was just painting Mount Fuji, and to me that was just that was the most important thing, and I didn't want anything else ruining that. Oh yeah, and then back to this painting, you can really see now the brush strokes with that thick color in the background, and how it blends a little bit with the shadow underneath the face. And I hinted at the muscles again of the character, which again it looked. I am not that good at recognizing specific muscles when it comes to the anatomy of a person, but it looked too exaggerated. I would say that they were very detailed, and it just felt like it had muscles in places where I had never seen them before in any other subjects or people. And yeah, I didn't. I don't know. I didn't feel that comfortable adding more and more and more to the lower part of the painting. Already those two lines that you see in the bottom, to me, feel enough. Like it's enough. Um, and again, like I said, the original photograph would have had a necklace there, a golden necklace, and yeah, that was completely, in my eyes, irrelevant in this case. But yeah, and now I'm getting a little bit more into the details here, and I'm adding a little bit more of that super nice black, almost black shadow to the to the face, to the cheeks, I guess, cheekbones. I don't know what they're called. Um, Something I wanted to mention as well is that I wasn't really happy with the eyes. The eyes of the character. mm, that's a little bit what I meant at the beginning of, or not at the beginning of the video, but like some minutes ago. Um, it was a little bit harder for me to really nail down the proportions of the character, because they're just too exaggerated, and somehow I couldn't do it. And um, yeah, the eyes, I think in the original picture were a bit bigger. Like the original sculpture has really big yellowy eyes, and I don't know. I think I didn't do a proper job here cap capturing capturing that. Is that a word? I think so. Not sure. Um, anyway, but it looks fine. I mean, it still works with the whole composition. I think yes, the nose is very big, but that's how the character has it. And like I said, the cheekbones are gigantic. I mean, it really looks. I don't want to be disrespectful or anything, but it does look a little bit like it has a ton of plastic surgery or something. But again, this adds to this, the drama of the character. So, if you're trying to learn how to do portraits, I would recommend that you not only focus on the proportions of the face and learning how to do it the most realistic and accurate way possible, but also experiment with characters that don't really exist. Like, for example, the one I'm painting. No one looks like that, and no one has a face like that, but it still offers a very good opportunity for you to understand emotion and how to express it a lot more while painting a face. And this skill of knowing whether you should exaggerate certain characteristics or not, will come in handy a lot when you're doing a more realistic portrait. Sometimes we don't manage to express exactly what we want, but if we reflect a little bit and imagine that person in a more abstract way or in a more fantasy-like way, then we might get the answer like that, and it might be a little bit easier then for us to come up with a solution that, yes, stays within the realism of the portrait, but that it allows us to express that emotion that we're lacking. So I hope this video was somewhat useful for you, and I hope and I really wish that I managed to inspire you to paint or to do something creative. If I did, then mission accomplished. I think that's the most important thing to me. Yeah, so remember to comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.